Right, it's four, wow, that came out loud, sorry. It's 4 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We always start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Trustee Kangas to lead us in the pledge, please. Thank you, Trustee Kangas. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to item B, approval of a flexible agenda. Okay, okay, so Trustee Chichester made a motion to approve a flexible agenda, was seconded by Trustee Kangas. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Excuse me. Item number 2 is the consent item. Did anybody want to pull anything off the consent? Seeing not, go ahead and make a motion. Okay. Thank you. So Trustee Chichester made the motion, seconded by Trustee Jackson. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Next on our item 3 is the Nevada Association of School Boards, which is referred to as NASB. Actually, Heather is our representative, but she wasn't available. So I attended the meeting and I will go through this with you. What happened at the meeting? They came out with first of all, we had elections and we have our president-elect is Nicole, help me with her last name. It's hard to say. Anyways, I can't pronounce it. Anyways, she will become our president. We had elections and we have our president-elect will be Wade Paulson from Lincoln. Mike Walker will be vice president from Carson City. Lola Bridges will be the legislative chair, and she's from Clark County. That's how that went. They came out with our 2023 calendar. And things you might want to know is January 14th in Reno, there will be a new trustee training. And our new trustees are all invited to attend. Also on February 4th, whoever ends up being the president of the school board, there'll be a training for the president. February 4th, also in Reno. Okay. Let's see. We talked also at this meeting about this document called Invest, which was brought forth by the state superintendents. And they have to agree 100% on this for it to go forward. And we looked through it as a group. And originally there was a $3 million $3 billion, excuse me. And we thought it should be higher to 8 billion. So we're recommending that. We changed a little bit of the language in it. Also, we're because next year is a legislative year, it's going to be very, very important that we have representation. And that's what NASB will do for us. They'll keep us informed of when we need to attend meetings and things like that. But also there will be, what was I going to tell you about that? Something escaped my mind. 8 billion. Oh, I know. They were going to try to get the legislature to try to pay for our capital improvements, to take that off of our plates. So hopefully something like that might work. And then we'll have lots of extra, well, maybe not lots, but extra, maybe extra money. And then also an NIAA representative was chosen, and she's from Fallon. Her name is Rayanne Sorensen. And that's it. That's the report for the NASB meetings. All right, let's move on. Yes. Any questions?
Just reiterate the 3 billion and 8 billion.
Yeah, okay, so it's
that's for, and
it's an invest document. Maybe Keith can even speak to it more because it comes from the superintendents. We just looked at the document as a group and it was listed at 3 billion on ours, and
I can't speak to the 8 billion.
oh, okay. That was our recommendation.
I can speak to the 3 billion is what the estimated cost would be to take Nevada to what we would consider optimal funding. And so, as we have said, Nevada is one of the lowest funded states in the nation regarding education. And so looking at capital, some of the capital needs across the state, obviously all of us are experiencing older buildings that are going to, we've talked about HVAC systems, and there's a ton of capital costs. There's also looking at, teacher salaries, employee salaries. To kind of give you an estimate is that we received a recommendation from the Committee on Education, and their recommendation was to give every educator a 20% raise, and to then also increase every other employees to a minimum of $20. And so just as kind of for your information, that would cost approximately $1 billion of new funding in the state to accomplish that one recommendation. And so we certainly would love, and we're going to challenge the legislature to come up with the money if that's indeed their recommendations. But again, that'll all play out in a legislative session. And so right now you're getting a lot of shoot for the moon. And
The 8 billion, is that in NASB trying to shoot for the moon, or is that?
yeah, I really can't even speak. That's the first
NASB
time I've
came
heard
forth
that.
as their group and changed a little bit of the language, and that was one of the things that they changed.
So it was a NASB.
It was a NASB, yeah, to bring it back to the superintendents, which hasn't happened yet, obviously, because Keith didn't know that.
So, and I will bring the invest document to the board in December. We were waiting on the Commission on Finance that has worked on the pupil-centered funding plan. They are making their final recommendations to the legislature in anticipation. And then that at this point, based on how the law is written, that commission will then break apart. So their task is over. They were to come up with recommendations. And so those recommendations will somewhat align with what the state superintendents are asking of the legislature. And again, I'll bring that document forward to the board in December, whether or not you can support that moving forward. So,
Okay, thank you.
More to
Yes.
come on that.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Item number 4, our board reports. We'll go ahead, and this is the time where our board members get to report out on things that they've done since the last board meeting in regards to school board business. Heather, I'll start with you.
I attended the freshman night at the high school, and the counselors did a great job with that, and it was really neat as they went through, and it was for parents to kind of let them know what options are available for their kids. They went through the different diplomas, they went through the different options for classes, different programs and stuff. So that was really good. I went to the fall concert that was put on by our band and choir also at DHS, and they did a great job, and I know they've having a great season in the marching band and competitions. I got to ride to Reno and back with an art class. We were trying to have a field trip, but I wanted to mention that just because it's really neat. It's a grant that through the Nevada Arts Council or something, or something through the arts that they were able to, that's funded, and they were able to go up, and they're going to get to do it again when there's better weather. But they get to go up and take a tour of the art museum and do an art project. And but the kids were very well behaved. It was fun. It was a bunch of middle school kids, and I thought, what am I doing? And it was a lot of fun just hanging out with them. And then lastly, and I'm sure you guys will mention it too, but I was at the high school this morning, meeting with a class of students who have an interest in becoming teachers, and it's through WNC. They get 6 credits that they get to use towards college, and also it's a class that they're taking in high school, and they learn a lot of neat things. We got to hear some of the different things that they're required, the standards for that class, and had great discussions with them, telling them a little bit about how the school board works with the schools and the different responsibilities we have. And it was really fun. They had great questions, and we had great conversation with them. So that was neat.
Thank you, Heather. Ross? That's right. Okay. Carrie?
I went to the CTE showcase at Douglas High School, and I'll keep this short. A lot of great programs and a lot of great kids. Did the SEL presentation at Douglas also, put on by some great speakers, and it was it's a good thing. I wish everybody could have been there. Instructional walk at Jack's Valley, where my granddaughter is a student, and I got to go into 2 pre-Ks, a first grade and second grade class, and I got to tell you, I've never seen so many focused kids that age in my life. Did the NASB conference, and there were some great training pieces to that. And then also did the DPAC meeting just this week at Pawalu, and it was about CTE again. So it was a lot of information on CTA. What a great program. Kudos to Cade and all the other people that are working so hard on that. Thank you.
Rob?
A few of the same events as Heather that I won't talk about again. She did a good job. Being the class today and freshman night.
And Doug?
I went to the SEL presentation at George Hotel, and it was very informative. I think it was a lot of pro. I'm still looking to hear the other side of that. Then I went to the DPAC meeting last night with Carrie, and that was good. Cade was very enthusiastic about the CTE. It's good to hear.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. I went to, let's see, an employee group meeting, which was attended by our HR, Mr. Gardner, and myself, and we had just one person there that time. He was representing the bus drivers, but I got to learn every time I go to these meetings, I learn a lot. And yeah, I thought it was a good meeting. And then I also attended the NASB meeting that I just reported out on. I went to the conference with Carrie, and also Trustee Magnata attended that as well, as long as with our superintendent. And there was a lot of great classes there as well to take. I went last night, I attended the Parks and Recreation Board meeting, and that's always very informative too, where we prioritize the events and things that they're working on in our county. And then also with Heather and Rob, I attended her name's Amanda Mitchell, the teacher, and it's a EDU class, like Heather was saying, and that's really some of the fun part of the job is getting with the kids and talking with them. And it was one of the kids, he escorted us out because the door is locked for the safety, and he said, he goes, "This is the reason I come to school. This is my favorite class." And so, gosh, that made my heart feel good. And that's it. We'll move on then to any course.
Follow up, there's 10 students currently in that class. So that's
Yeah,
it's a
and
first year.
let's-
It's a good start.
And one thing I do want to mention there, this first semester, they're learning about, governance and just different things. And then the next semester, after the first of the year, they actually spend the whole semester going into classes with teachers. They're assigned teachers, and they get to actually teach. They'll get a chance to really experience it. So that's really exciting because we need teachers. Next would be our correspondence, item number 5. Does anyone have anything to report out on that on the board? No? Okay, we'll move on. Good news. I'm going to let, because we had something planned for today, but it changed. So I'll let Superintendent Lewis.
So yeah, we had some coordinated for Vivian Mikulik, who is a epic coach at CC McNeely, to bring some forward. And then with the day change, we conflicted with her schedule. So we'll bring her back in December. We'll also in December, I do want to announce that our girls golf team won the 3A state championship, back-to-back state championships, and won, I believe, by 72 strokes. And so I think they are getting a free ticket back to the 4A level next year. And so if you don't know, the NIAA does look at record over a period of time. And if you have not experienced success, they can move you between divisions. And so boys soccer and girls golf were two sports that were moved to the 3A. And now that they won back to back, obviously that success is different and they will be. But they're a very young team and a very good team. So.
And we had the top overall.
Yes.
finish.
Oh, and yeah,
Yeah.
it failed too. And we had the state champion as well on our team. So we will bring them in December to recognize them officially here in front of the board.
Thank you, Superintendent Lewis. Item 7 is next, and that's our maintenance and project report. And we have the Director of Facilities, Phil Demas, here with us this evening. And this presentation is just for information only. Thank you, Phil. Thanks for being here.
It's all good news. Just this week, we got our certificate of completion for BMPs, completing erosion control BMPs up at the lake at Zephyr and Wattel. Been 4 years in the making, so it's a big deal. And just gonna read a quick thing from it. The certificate recognizes your outstanding contribution to restore and protect Lake Tahoe by completing erosion control best management practices, BMPs. And these water quality improvements are required for the purpose of controlling erosion and stormwater runoff, as well as protecting natural resources of the Lake Tahoe region. And so it is a big deal. We spent quite a bit of money at it and time, and it's complete, so we got it. And then first time since 2010 that we can report that there's no leaks in CC Manili or Jacks Valley Elementary. This was done by warranty work completed by Garland Roofing. Over $300,000 of work they did in the past 2 summers. It's been a real big deal getting that done too, because when my kids were going there years ago, place leaked like a sieve. So nice to have it done. Plus, we had over $1 million worth of warranty work done at Douglas High School in the last year. So that's good. We put out the bid just this past couple weeks, $833,000 HVAC renovation job for DHS. And we've received another $800,000 from the ESSER 3 grant that we're going to put towards DHS as well. So we can do all the rooftop packages on 100, 200, and 400. They're really badly needed. Some of them over 40 years old. And we're replacing a 40-year-old boiler system and the water storage system in the gym area for that money. And then we're also on track for all our summer projects, DHS track replacement, new portable restrooms for portables, ball fields, and the ag building, the painting, pavement, and carpet projects, and the roofing and gutter snow fence projects on Scarcelli, Powaloo, and Carson Valley Middle School. So that's all I got.
A little bit on the stadium project.
Yeah.
On the track just itself.
Well, the money we have this year is going to be just for a new track. We were looking, and we are for the following year, because we're doing an upgrade. The bleachers really need an upgrade to be legal there and safe and different entries and ADA accessible. So we're doing that. We're going to upgrade Smalley's Snack Shack, concession stand there, and then the bathrooms in the same.
Great. I have a quick question. How
Sure.
old is our track?
This present, the last time we had it done is 14 years, 15 years.
Okay, is that
Original. It's the original.
Yeah.
track.
That's good. Okay. I don't- Okay. Anybody else,
Yeah,
anybody else have any questions on the
they're
board?
expensive.
Yeah. No. Oh, go ahead, Doug.
Back to the BMPs, was this just to bring it up since it had not been done when the schools were first done, or was this have to
It-
do with ongoing
It's never
construction?
been done.
So that was just the
to my
TRPA
knowledge.
thing to bring it up to code.
So, yeah,
Okay,
to come into compliance.
right.
We did everything they asked of us and it's a good thing to
done
do
finally.
for the lake.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's been on our list for a very long time, so.
We spent millions at Heavenly over the years. Which is just needed up there.
All right.
So, thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
Phil.
Phil. Thanks for being here. All right. Item number 8 on our agenda is our superintendent's report. Superintendent Lewis?
Thank you. Before I get started, I would like to congratulate and introduce our 3 future board members. All of them are here. So I'd like to introduce Catherine Dickerson. If you would stand up real quick and everyone see you. Congratulations. Susan Jansen and David Burns. We welcome you. We look forward to working with you in this transition as they will take the seat in January. I think it's around January 10th, if I'm correct. So we will be reaching out and working with you to get you up to speed as much as we can as we go along. Okay, congratulations. I'd like to, in terms of donations, Douglas High School, the First American Title, Keller Williams and Carson Valley Accounting raised $2,350 during their October trunk or treat event that was donated to the Douglas High School Assistance Fund. That fund helps students who are low income or homeless and who can't afford back to school supplies, clothes, or fees associated with school. So we really appreciate that donation to that fund at Douglas High School. Enrollment, DCSD enrollment counts through the November reporting reflect an enrollment of 5,352, which is up 8 from the October reporting and 54 down from where we were in November of 2021. As some of you alluded to that you attended, Mickey Trujillo and Tracy Fisher from the Office of Safe and Respectful Learning through the Department of Ed hosted 2 social emotional awareness nights for our DCSD school community. The first event was held on October 19th at George Wattell High School, and the second was held the following evening at Douglas High. We had approximately 10 people, including Trustee Engelkirk, attend the event at Wattell, and approximately 30, including Trustee Kangas, attend the event at Douglas High School. I certainly appreciate Mickey and Tracy's sharing their expertise in this area, especially as it relates to SEL standards that have been adopted in Nevada. Around self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. The board is invited, and everyone in attendance here tonight is invited to attend the 10th annual student-directed one-act play festival this Friday and Saturday, November 18th and 19th at Douglas High School. Come enjoy the dramatic perspectives of Body, Body, directed by student Samantha Rollins. This play will represent Douglas at the Northern Nevada Play Festival. 2 plays are chosen to move on to the Nevada State One Act Festival. And so after the show, you will have an opportunity to give feedback. When have you ever had that? You get to go to a play and give feedback to the cast in preparation for the festival in March. There will also be a Q&A with the director and cast of Body, Body. Playtimes are Friday at 7, Saturday at 2 and 7 p.m. Student and general admission tickets are only $5. And the Saturday matinee is free for students. My staff and I hosted a virtual town hall meeting for our school community on Thursday, October 13th. And as always, enjoyed the wonderful opportunity to answer questions from approximately 45 attendees. Mr. Gardner to my right did a great job of emceeing the event. And we will host another virtual town hall on January 12th. So we will host 3 per year, and 12th will be our second. DCSD will be hosting a virtual mental health series workshop on November 29th from 6 to 7 p.m. For parents. The topic of this workshop will be social media, protecting your child by staying aware and involved. Participants will need to register for the event. We will be sending out a second notification in the coming days to our families, and obviously anyone in the community is invited to attend that. DCSD has also partnered with parentguidance.org to provide parent coaching as a resource for parents that may be struggling to support their child. I want to be clear, we're not telling parents how to parent, but we are often approached from parents that are struggling for answers in working with their kids. And so this could be a valuable resource for them. This confidential resource, obviously, as I talked about, will provide the opportunity for a parent to develop a personalized plan with a trained and certified coach that will meet with the parent once a week and will be available 24/7 for messages when difficult moments arise. We will have an initial meeting, and we have invited Juvenile Probation, Thrive, and the Family Support Council to join us. So they are aware of this resource when they are working with families in their capacities. And we really look at this as a community opportunity. Sometimes we don't see the students and families in the school because they've gone to family support or Thrive, or they're involved in the juvenile probation system. And so making everyone aware of what this opportunity is and available. Since our October meeting, we have finished our first round of EPIC instructional walks, which occurred today. We visited both our lake schools, Carson Valley Middle School, Gardnerville Elementary School, Jacks Valley, and then, as I said, we've walked twice at Douglas High School. We'll begin our second round of walks on January 9th when we visit Minden Elementary and Aspire, and all of you are invited to join us as your schedule allows. It's a great opportunity to see EPIC learning in person. I appreciate that several of you have already joined us on these instructional walks to see what, again, EPIC learning looks like. I've been very pleased with the growth we have seen with implementation and how students are able to speak about their own learning. And I'm going to ask Pam Gilmartin at some time to come share with you their recent parent-teacher conference, and they were student-led conferences. And just they did an amazing job of really planning the day. Not only in their work with their parents, going through what they're doing in the classroom for those parents that this teacher really need to meet with, also having those opportunities. And then they did a scavenger hunt around the school, so the parents got to meet the specialists. You know, often in parent-teacher conference, the parents never meet the PE teacher or the music teacher and the people that support their children. So they did a really good job, and she presented to our leadership team just on Tuesday, and sound like a phenomenal. And then communications meetings, we annually go out to every site twice a year and just are open. It's a Q&A. We don't go with any agenda, and we have had some really great conversations with staff so far. We visited Pinion Hills, Jacks Valley, Minden Elementary, and then we visited staff at Powell Middle School, and we're able to meet with all the employees out here at the airport. All the departments here, we were able to meet with them as well. So that is what I have been up to over the last month in my report.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you, Superintendent Lewis. We'll move on to item number 9, which is the Douglas County School District Self-Insured Health Insurance Plan. Proposed revisions to plan for calendar year 2023. And our HR person, Mr. Gardner, is going to lead us through this.
Thank you, President Gilkerson. Darcy McGinnis, I think, is also going to join me up here in the front for her vast wisdom on this subject. Darcy's a member of our health. You can sit right up here.
Welcome, Darcy.
So we, as you know, have a self-funded insurance plan, and we have the Health Advisory Committee, which meets monthly to review the plan and report to you as a board and make recommendations for that plan. And Darcy, jump in any time, but over the last several years, we've experienced significant cost increase because of the increased health costs that we're facing as a nation. Nationally, large claims have skyrocketed over the last 3 years. Our plan has faced that same skyrocketing cost. We track large claims once they reach $125,000. Currently, we have 9 of those claims. So previous to the last 2 years, we typically had 1 or 2 claims that large. So we've seen a really large increase in cost. LP Insurance Services is a company that we contract with that helps us and advises us through the health insurance program and helps us run our plan efficiently. And every year they do a analysis of the plan and project cost that we will face, and then look at the revenue that we will create based on the number of employees that we have, dependents that they have, and then how much the district contributes. And they're projecting a 20% deficit this year, which is pretty significant. We've been fortunate over a number of years to not make many plan changes, but this year we did make some plan changes last year. Before that, had been a number of years before any significant plan changes have been made. To make that 20%, I've given you the document. It's item 9, and it outlines some of the changes that we're recommending. The first one on there is out-of-pocket max, which would increase the individual out-of-pocket max for in-network from $3,000 to $3,500, and out-of-network from $12,000 to $14,000. For family, it would increase in-network from $9,000 to $10,500, and out-of-network from $36,000 to $42,000. That gives us approximately 0.82% increase in funding. The next thing is co-insurance costs would change from in-network to 80% to 75%, and out-of-network 60% to 55%, which is approximately 1.43% increased funding. The next thing is primary care office visits in network would be from $40 to $50, and 60% co-insurance would not change. That would be a 0.95% increase. Spousal carve-outs is a concept where if our employees' spouses have the ability to get insurance through their own job or work, they would be required to take that insurance and not use our insurance. LP projects that would basically save us a little over 3%. And then the last change is that the district will increase their contribution this year by $1 million, which is about 12.5%. That brings us to 18.7%, which LP Insurance is comfortable with that change. It's a hard decision to make because it is a substantial cost of the district, and more than that, some of this falls on the back of our employees, which is a really hard discussion for us to have in Health Advisory Committee. I know it's a hard decision for you as a board to make, but that is our recommendation from Health Advisory Committee. Any questions for Darcy? What's that? Yeah, and Keith reminded me that just want you to know that we have already budgeted $1 million for this upcoming fiscal year.
Trustee Kangas?
So no change in the overall cost of the insurance as far as premium.
Say that again. Sorry.
The premium stays the same?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And how many employees are we talking about on this system?
We're right at 770, and then there's approximately 430 dependents.
Big system.
I do have a question for Darcy. Oh,
Okay,
Sorry,
we'll
just
start
one.
with Heather, then we'll go to
Excellent,
Rob. then
Heather,
Doug.
thank
Go
you.
ahead, Heather.
Darcy, I just wanted to ask because as a teacher and as you know, what are the teachers, how are they feeling about this? Are they understanding why we're having to do this, and how are they doing with it?
It's always hard to have increases because we did have increases last year as well.
Right.
But I think anybody who through the pandemic understands that the cost of medical has just gone through the roof. And our own plan has sustained more people than we usually, not many more, but I mean, it's really increased, and the district has put in, a fair share as well. So I think we'll look at, as a committee, maybe making smaller incremental changes in the future, because I think our plan was in good shape, and then it's hard to plan around a pandemic.
Right.
So I mean, of course, it's hard to pass that on to the employees, but I mean, I think as a committee, we looked at the impact employees the least, which we tried to keep the copays down. As a committee, we batted around quite a bit. Did the best what we thought was best. People are always upset about costs going up, but I'm sure that will be.
Thank you. Rob?
I got two questions. One is the spousal carve out. Is that any medical plan? Like assume a spouse has access to a really, really bad plan. Are they forced to take that bad plan? They don't have option for ours?
It's not any plan. For example, people that are eligible for Medicare or Medicaid, we cannot force them to leave our plan for that. But if they receive healthcare through their work, yes, it's any other plan. They would have to take the medical plan through their employer.
Do we have any idea how many people that will affect? So 3% of this is. Well, okay, and the next one is, do we know how many families hit the max out of pocket?
I don't know that off the top of my head. That's something that we probably could get, but
That's a big jump and it only saves us 0.82%. I'm curious if we would be able to $1,500, just quite a bit of money. I wonder if we could lower that a little bit and just watch it.
I think we're at the point where we got to make some changes. I think we're beyond, we've kind of made some decisions over the last couple of years in terms of which we've allowed our ending fund, we would take risk on our ending fund. I think we felt as a committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we needed to be in about the 6.2%, somewhere in there. We're still not getting all the way to 20%. But that, and as Darcy alluded, that we just have to start chipping away. And a lot of the conversation has been about our red light, green light, yellow light that may have given some false securities around this. And so, we always had that conversation. When you're at a red light, you got to act. Then the changes become way more significant. And so I think that's where, as a committee, we believe that with the $1 million, which is about, what do we say, 12.5%, that we needed to be in that just over that 6 and start making some change to try to get ahead of this. Because as Joe said, we've just had some major claims. I mean, you can't predict them. But as you know, we also, and we'll be bringing that in December, the stop loss is at 250,000. And again, at the time we did that, it made sense. I mean, we had not historically had more than 1 or 2 claims that went over. And so we've had to, look at the data. And if anyone in the audience doesn't know what stop loss is a protection on your insurance plan. But our plan at 250, we would pay the first 250 out of our self fund, and then anything beyond 250 on a medical claim then is reimbursed by that insurance. So you're buying insurance on your insurance. And then you get that money reimbursed, anything over that 250. We've just, with cancers, and we've had transplants and just have had a lot of major medical issues that have really put us where I think, Trustee Lehman, we need to make some bolder moves this year. It would be my recommendation.
Go ahead.
So your committee is made up of employees.
We got, human resources, us, the bus drivers,
administration.
administration, everything. Yeah, they just don't, they haven't.
The other thing that I would add, Rob, is that our plan, we, as you know, through like negotiations, we compare to Carson and Lyon. Our plan and cost to employees is still, even with these changes, significantly less than their plans, which is positive. The other thing I would add is that healthcare costs are not going to get cheaper, and we're only going to face greater cost every year. And LP Insurance is happy with the percentage that we have made, but they project that we're going to be making changes every year because the cost is just going up. And self-funded plans are less and less common. Both Lion and Carson had to leave their self-funded plan several years ago because of cost. And so we've been fortunate to maintain it, which allows us to keep costs down for employees, but it's definitely time to make changes.
Well, thank you to you and the rest of the committees for making these tough decisions that affect you.
And I want to commend all of them. You know, I've sat in the HR seat for many years, and these are, Darcy may have been, I don't know if you were on the committee 2 years ago, it was like awkward silence for 20 minutes. No one was going to move, right? And again, I think because we monitor on a monthly basis, there's no denial of the high claims. And so I think I came into the meeting late, but I could tell, and talking to Joe, there was real cooperation in the room. No one wants to do it, but everyone understood where we were and made sacrifices to get to where we're at. And I commend all of you for doing that.
Go ahead, Doug. Thank you for waiting.
And maybe explain, you know, I guess I'd like to explain it a little bit more. Why we would save the amount we're saving is what we have seen is that our benefits are better. And so people are moving over to have a high cost medical procedure on rather than using their employer's health insurance. And so we're trying to close that. And our plan, the dependent cost is significant from what the premiums are for dependents. And we have a very good plan. I mean, I can speak for myself to have my wife and 4 kids on our plan and pay in the high 700s. That's a good deal when you talk about what the market is. But our dependent costs are also high for what we take in. But we've also been very, that's not an area where we really want to go, because when you talk about really hurting employees, when you start raising those deductible rates, that's even a tougher pill to swallow. So. What our claims have been, and so they take what have our claims been and make a projection. What would we project that to be for next year? And then the revenue is a little bit more solid because they know what we're contributing. Now our members may come up and down a little bit throughout the year, but that's right now we contribute $705 per employee per month for the insurance premium. So again, go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
Well, do you think we had more claims because of COVID maybe? I mean, do you think that was part of a cause for this? And so we're past that, maybe we won't have, because you were saying we went from 1 or 2 to.
We've talked about a lot, and Darcy may want to weigh in. The large claims that we've had have not been COVID related in the sense that they're not COVID. Talking to like Hometown Health and LP Insurance services, there could be a connection because during the COVID time, people didn't go to the doctor, and so things could have become worse. But really, they feel it's more about just the cost of claim. The cost of insurance has skyrocketed.
Which might be because of COVID costs in the hospital.
But that's,
System,
even though COVID is not done, it's not going back down.
Correct.
those that treated people in the hospital without insurance, they're making up their money now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just the costs have skyrocketed. And, the other thing that through all of this is you engage in new contracts. So we engage with Carson Tahoe, that hospital rate increased significantly. So those contracts that we have with the hospitals and other providers, those rates have gone up. And so that's part of it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. This is a for possible action. Yeah, it's an action item, so I need someone to make a motion. Okay, motion was made. Anyone second? Thank you, Heather. Before we vote, is there any public comment? Seeing none, then we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Thank you both very much.
Gilkerson, I know Keith acknowledged Darcy in the group, but it really is a challenging committee, and Darcy and all, we have a relatively new group of representatives on there, and they have really taken a great leadership role. And so I want to thank Darcy specifically, but the entire group.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item number 10, and this is the third reading of board policy number 815, public records. It's for discussion and possible action.
So I want to start off with, this is the third, but my intent will be to bring it back for a fourth. There are some pretty significant changes from when it came to second reading, as we looked at this in greater detail. So based on the number of changes, I think it would be prudent to try and kind of treat this as a first reading, even though it's the third, and then we'll come back in December for final approval. So the concern through public comment when this previously came up is bullet number 5. Previous bullet number 5, copy of a public record includes all versions of the record provided in response to requests, whether provided in paper or electronic formats. Nobody knew what that meant, and it wasn't really that clear. What it is intended to mean is, again, that if Joe Gerdner comes in and makes a public information request, then Mr. Shu can't come in and say, I just want the same information Mr. Gerdner requested. That's not public record. His request is not public record in itself. And so we've cleared that up. And then Rick may want to speak to some of this. And I think we have one more correction we wanted to make tonight. But as you see in the red, we've made some strike in 3 and 4. And then really 5 is summarized in the paragraph below.
I got the wrong version. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is a request under Nevada Public Records Act must be for an identifiable record. The act does not require DCSD to create data or generate new documents in response to a public records request. So that's may still be a little bit confusing in terms of wording, but again, it goes back to you can't make a public records request on what someone else get the information someone else requested. Rick, do you want to talk through this a little bit?
Yeah, Madam President, we went through, and I pulled it up again, we went through the Nevada Administrative Code, and these changes are consistent with the Nevada Administrative Code. I had a minor panic attack because I was looking at the prior version, which we were intending to delete. So if you look at that last subsection 4, copy of public record includes all versions, that's been deleted because that's not consistent with what we found in the Nevada Administrative Code. So anyway, I had a minor panic, but never mind. This is what we did when we looked at it to make it consistent. So, but I think it probably deserves a little bit more scrutiny, and we probably, there's no rush, right? So might as well approve it next month after other people have a chance to look at it.
Okay. Any comments from the board? All right. So we're not gonna.
No, we want you to take action as a first or as a third reading.
Is the third reading, okay. So does someone want to make a motion?
We'll approve the third reading of board policy 815, public records to be brought back next month.
I'll second that.
Okay. So a motion was made. It was seconded by trustee Kangas. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Let's see here. Okay, now we're on item 11, and this was the hotline website process, and this is also for discussion and possible action.
I'm going to call Mr. Enter up to the front as well for this one. So this is at the request of the board with a second we were addressing how people in or how community members might be able to ask questions if they hear information or need additional information, some kind of format, a more formal format for them to submit a question, and then district staff would then respond. And so in those initial conversations, talking both about a hotline and also about some sort of form so that they could electronically submit as well. And so John and I met. John, do you want to talk about this part? And again, just to give a little bit more background, this came out of the July 12th board meeting that you voted 6-1 to have the district staff develop a process for which the public can report concerns, ask questions, and or seek clarification from district staff regarding instruction, curriculum, and or school events. So I'll have John speak to the technology part of this.
Okay. Good afternoon, board and Madam President. Yes, we were gonna establish 2 different avenues for submitting questions or comments. One would be the telephone number, as you can see. It would be a recording. The caller would make a phone call to the number. It would immediately go to a voicemail greeting that the superintendent would record. And then the caller could leave a voicemail. And then those voicemails would be picked up by the superintendent's office and acted upon. The second is an online form that users could go online and actually fill out and complete their questions that way. So telephone call or a phone call. Let's see here. Yeah, Superintendent Lewis and Karen Harper would be the ones that would be getting the calls. They'd be forwarded to the employee that could best address the question. So if it's a facilities related thing, I'm sure it would go to Phil Demas in that kind of avenue. And we'd make every effort to respond within 24 hours. And if it's going to take longer than that, we would definitely communicate that for the response. And I was going to let you go ahead and talk about the process once those calls come in.
So we also had a brief conversation just about whether or not there would be a subsequent Q&A page on the district website. So when questions came in, and our guidance would be that if there was a question that is asked multiple times, like you really get a feel that this is a community issue, that we're getting similar questions, that would be something that would strike to going up to a frequently asked questions page on our website. If it's just a one-off that, it's specific to an event that maybe not even an event, but it's specific to us individual student, maybe even that we would respond to that, but that would necessitate action on the website itself. So that's something that I think you as a board need to discuss. I do think that could be pretty labor intensive. And again, I guess maybe not. We don't know how much this will be used, but if it is used very frequently, that could be pretty labor intensive to take that, respond, and then get it up to the website. The other discussion we've had is whether or not this should be anonymous. We have Safe Voice for making anonymous complaints or information. They're not always complaints. We get a variety. They're not always student focused. The Safe Voice is used pretty broadly for reporting. But again, my idea when this originally came up is just being able to really communicate and knowing who you're contacting back, what is, sometimes the anonymous responding back is going to be challenging if they're not willing to provide any information for us to actually respond. And so I think, again, that's something you as a board need to provide direction to staff on. So that is our plan. It's really, in talking to John, it's really not any labor to set up. It'll be very easy on our end to set up. Karen looked like she just was notified tonight that she's the keeper of the complaints. That's how I communicate, right? So, Ross.
Right.
Yeah, since Safe Voice is there, I don't think it should be anonymous. I mean, we want to be able to contact people and answer their question. You can't do that if it's anonymous. It just goes better. So I think it needs to be some way that we can contact them back, answer their question. And like I say, a whole bunch of people would have the same kind of question. Yeah, it'll be on the website, but let them know. Safe Voice, if you want to do that, that's anonymous. Already got it.
Yeah, I agree with Ross. I think.
Can
that-
you, I got a notice that people online couldn't hear you guys talking, so.
I agree with Ross that I think that making it anonymous is probably not a great idea. And I think it might help keep the comments to important stuff that people really need to talk about.
Heather?
I agree. Just, we have Safe Voice. And so I feel like this would be, and I feel like the purpose we had for this was that we could respond and we could help answer questions. So we need to be
Okay.
able to get a hold of them. That's my thought.
Rob?
I think there's a use for anonymous. I think people, there may be an issue where people don't, are worried about retaliation or something like that. But I think this is something that can be worked on as it goes forward. And if there's consensus that it shouldn't be anonymous, and if Safe Voice exists, okay with that.
Doug?
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's really, like, if somebody makes a phone call, there's really no way to ask them to, or make sure that they tell us what their, name is or anything like that. It's pretty much anonymous. If they want it to be anonymous, it'll be anonymous.
Right, but you can't respond. They're-
Exactly,
So
exactly.
if it's anonymous, then it's whatever, goes into space, like you said. Doug?
Good point, because I think since we do have Safe Voice, it could be not anonymous, but again, how do you enforce? You wouldn't necessarily enforce something like that. You could just
Mhm.
say on the voice recording, please leave your name and number.
If
And
you
then
want a
people could or
response.
could not. Yeah, if you want a response, so.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Sometimes people just might want to say something and don't care about a response. They just might want to say something. So then they wouldn't leave their name and number possibly. I also,
Go ahead, Linda.
I also feel that it should not be anonymous. And this serves as a different purpose than Safe Voice. My only comment also is you said you would get back in 24 hours, which is fine, except if somebody calls in on a Friday night, and then that's not going to happen. So just to make sure that,
24 business hours.
okay, there you go. All right.
We
Any
work over
other,
the weekends most time anyways.
so any other?
I just
Go ahead.
do want to note though, please understand, like if somebody called in anonymously and they're reporting something, we're not going to just ignore it going, it's anonymous. I mean, if it's a report of any harm or anything like that, we're going to respond. So
gonna
I
look into
want to
it.
make sure people are aware of that.
Any other discussion on this? Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I will.
Thank you.
I make a motion that the board approves the district plan for a hotline and website as presented.
Okay, a motion was made. Someone like to second?
Second.
Okay, second was made. At this time, I'll call for any public comment. Sure, come on up. What we need you to do is come forth, and I think you still have to sign in and state your name for the record, if you don't mind.
Well, that'd be good.
My name is Virginia Neese, and it says here under the proposed process that should the district receive multiple reports, and then it doesn't define what multiple reports are, that's rather subjective. I think you should have a number, 5, 10, whatever, just to define it.
Okay.
So that, I mean, if there are rules, there are rules that should be followed,
Okay.
not just subjective.
Okay, thank you, Virginia. All righty. Do we want to go ahead and take a vote? Or do we want to respond? What do you think?
Five. I'm not sure the same question.
But there could be things that just, I mean, I think that's just say, oh, we're not going to publish it till it's 5, or, I mean, again, I think it's, we have a pretty good sense, multiple, like, we're gonna have a sense of it's a community issue. But I kind of feel like even like 5 might limit what really we would put out to. I mean, I guess that doesn't prevent us from doing that either, but so
Maybe 3.
whatever you,
Or do we want?
whatever your fancy.
I don't know, maybe just leave it as it is, and then best judgment.
We see it's an issue, we can bring it up.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. Let's go ahead and then bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. All right, next we're on to item number 12, strategic plan goals and objectives. The approval, and this is also for discussion and possible action. And Superintendent Lewis?
Yeah, John's gonna pull this up on the main screen for us. So why he's doing that, I just want to talk a little bit about the process. We have met 2 times as a strategic planning committee. Tonight before you are the goals and objectives that are brought forward from that committee. Okay. And through this process, then once the board has approved those goals and objectives, then district staff will then go back and start working with site administration and teachers and other employees to develop the action steps, which we will use to achieve the objectives and goals that you have set forth. This is a 5-year plan. That doesn't mean that nothing can change in this for 5 years, but we will also create some timelines within this process of what we want accomplished after year 1, year 2, and so forth. And then obviously we would give updates to the board in an ongoing fashion of where we are on the strategic plan in terms of implementation. And so the first page, I guess I'll scroll down here and I apologize that it's always going to be split screen for everyone. Mine's lagging a little bit. But again, a very impressive group of individuals that have assisted us in this process. Representatives, obviously, from the school district at all levels. We've had union representation. We've had, as you can see, some that are just strictly parents, but a lot of our employees serve in multiple roles as both employees and parents. Me being one of those. We had representation from Western Nevada College, the Carson City Health and Human Services, and so again, and other members of our business community. So again, I think it was a very well-rounded group of individuals. And as you can see, there were obviously several people at the table that have provided us input. They have all seen this document. It was sent out to them 2 weeks ago for final input. There was no additional input other than several responses that they supported the work that we have done as a strategic planning committee. This is our updated data dashboard. Again, that data that will be ongoing and updated as we move forward. I am lagging significantly now, so let me see if I can. So again, just a page of our district vision, our mission, and our core beliefs are there, followed by goal number 1. And so again, I want to maybe actually, Joe, if you will go back. So the first thing that we did as a committee is that we really took time to analyze our district. What are our current strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are opportunities? And then what are potential threats to our success? And so that's called a SWOT activity. And Shannon led us through that activity, which everyone had input. And then we went around and were able to see what one group had put on and then add. And then at some point we starred those that were the priority. And so back on page 11, or it might be 181 of our packet, I think, but page 11 of the strategic plan can just provides what that input was from our committee. So just, I won't go through all these, but strengths is staff development, long-range vision for epic learning, technology integration, geographical location, communication, staff retention, and inclusive practices. And so those are the strengths that were said multiple times by the committee. And again, so you can see that process. We also asked some very open-ended questions to help guide us, such as what should a DCSD diploma prepare our students to achieve? What is student success and what are examples of it in DCSD? If money and resources were no object, what would you like to see the district provide our students? That's the old pie in the sky, dream big. And then what other questions do we need to talk about? And so again, we met that first time. Then we went back as a staff, really compiled that information, synthesized it down. And then in our second meeting, put big poster charts up on with that. And then again, they were provided a second opportunity. And we got a lot, and that second time we got a lot of input, but a lot of that will help us in the action step. So kind of how we do this. But again, it was great input. So that's kind of what led us then to the goal development. And so our 4 goals are in student success, personnel, operations management, and community engagement. Goal number 1 being student success with opportunity and access. Every classroom will provide equitable access to rigorous, relevant, and personalized learning opportunities. Each Douglas County School District graduate will be prepared for their life aspirations to include a college or career pathway. Objective 1 is set high expectations and challenge students with rigorous, personalized, inclusive, and blended learning opportunities. Foster a safe, positive, and trusting learning environment and increase student preparation for college and or career pathways. Goal number 2 is highly qualified personnel, and that we are going to recruit, retain, and develop high qualified personnel. We're going to do that by providing a comprehensive package that is competitive with other school districts in the region. We're going to recruit and recommend highly skilled and highly qualified applicants to be hired by the Douglas County School District. And we're going to provide support for new staff through a comprehensive induction plan. And finally, on that, objective 4, continue to provide effective, evidence-based, and differentiated professional learning opportunities tied directly to school and district improvement plans. Goal number 3 is in the area of operations management. Create responsive, effective, and integrated operations to sustain district initiatives, enable continuous improvement to educational programs, and achieve organizational success. The objectives in this area is to provide sound, responsible financial stewardship through the management and maintenance of adequate financial reserves, ensure the alignment of resources to meet district strategic goals, increase support for educational programs and strategic goals by leveraging community and fiscal partnerships, create effective and efficient operational procedures and systems responsive to the needs of our students, staff, and stakeholders. And finally, objective 5, maintain and improve facilities to provide high quality and safe learning environments. Finally, the fourth goal is community engagement. We aim to strengthen family, school, and community partnerships through clear and consistent communication, provide meaningful feedback and input opportunities toward continuous improvement efforts. So objective 1 is schools and facilities will be safe and inviting places for families, staff, and community. Building relationships with families to strengthen understanding of state standards, student progress, and the importance of teachers and families working together. Coordinate with community resources to support student growth and development. Objective 4 is to highlight student achievements and school events through a multitude of media outlets. And objective 5, create additional opportunities for students and staff to make a positive impact on the community. So that is our goals and objectives and process, and I'm available for any questions.
Question, Rob?
Didn't it used to be that each agenda item like recognized what strategic plan goal it accomplished or addressed?
Yeah, we tried to put in parentheses where that, yes.
Okay, that, I don't know when that ended, but that seemed like a good way to.
Yeah. There's an abbreviation.
Oh, no, okay, I see what that is. Got it.
You were stumping me there for a second.
It used to be written out a little farther than that. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? I have one. Action steps. It says TBD.
To be determined. So
Yes.
if these are the goals and objectives approved by the board, then
Then
we
we
will go
move-
back as a staff and those
Start
will
working on
move
these?
from TBDs to actual
Okay.
action steps.
I just was
yes.
wondering time frame, but
Yeah.
first we have to take care of this. Okay. All righty. So this is an action item?
Comment and just say,
Sure.
I was really impressed. I think Shannon and I think Rami was part of the first one.
Uh-huh.
But I was really impressed with how it was done and how everyone worked together and the community members and parents that we had there. And it was fun to have them actively sharing, ideas and things. And I don't know, I just thought it was a good, I liked the process of it. I thought it was really good to get a lot of information and feedback from a lot of different people. So good job.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. And it's funny because as I was looking at Shannon, I was thinking he didn't lead this. So Rami, I apologize that I didn't give you credit. She started this on the first meeting. So
And I'd like to concur with Heather. I really enjoyed the parent part of this, having our parents be part of this and have them with young kids, because my kids are so much older now. And it's just nice to see what's important to them and all our parents. But I just, just a lot of aha moments for me when we were doing this. So I thought that was great.
Being on the committee, I will attest to the amount of enthusiasm and effort put forth in this and how important it was to everybody that was there.
All right.
and I think it is important to note for the record, these are open public meetings. So both these meetings were open to any community member that did want to participate in that as well. So, and again, I think just also as I reflect back on the process, typically in a strategic plan, we've met in one day. We spent the majority of the day going through data, and then we get to the last hour and it's a rush to develop goals and prioritize. And so I think breaking it apart to get input, let staff come back with that synthesized. I think that really, I think I speak for my staff and feeling that that was a much more positive experience for us in this. So, and again, a lot of this, my staff over there behind Heather is very instrumental in all that we do on this strategic plan. And I appreciate their help and support. And I guess you sitting next to me too, Joe.
And Joe too. All right, Rob?
I move that we approve the 2022-2027 strategic plan goals and objectives as presented.
Okay, motion was made.
Second.
You're going to get a chance. Hang on one second. Second, Ross?
No.
Okay. Okay, now, is there any public comment? So please come forth and again, write your, sign in, give us your name. Oops. Keep it down back there. Another one. Look at all these lefties.
My name is Nicholas Meyer. I've done many strategic plans for high-tech companies, both in Silicon Valley and in Chicago, software companies, telecommunications companies. One thing that I noticed is missing in this plan is actual measurements of how we are going to determine if our children have mastery of the material. You've set goals for proficiency, but how are you going to measure the children? Where is the testing specifics in this plan? How are you going to test children? How often are you going to test children? That has to be part of this plan. Otherwise, it's pie in the sky. So you have to be able to measure where children are they grasping the subject matter, and then to track your improvement. The second point I want to make is, since this is a 5-year plan, I would strongly recommend that the board, that you put this off until the new board is seated. I am sure the new board members are going to have interest in this plan and recommendations in this plan. So I would strongly recommend that you get their feedback on this plan before you pass a 5-year plan. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Just go ahead and sign in, please. And then state your name. You know we know it. State your name for the record.
Hi, Susan Jansen. I love that, you know, there's a large diversity of the people included in this plan. But again, myself, Dave, and Catherine would love to get up to speed and weigh in on this before it's voted on. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board then. Rob?
We update the strategic plan, correct?
It's always,
It's always updated.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
at
there,
any point, we can bring it back too.
there's no reason why this can't be updated and changed as the new board feels. So there's nothing that stops that.
Yeah, just to let you know.
And I would just respond in response to our assessment right now is mandated by the state, how we're going to assess. Obviously, we have local control over maps, but that is always going to reflect in the Nevada School Performance Framework. So we are annually we will receive again once, and we're going to get into that cycle now. We're out of COVID and we have data that we can measure. Is our schools will be given a star rating every year, and that's based on achievement, that's based on growth, that's based on how we are performing from one year to the other. So we have that measurement already built in at the state level through the Nevada School Performance Framework.
Thank you. Was there another comment? Sure, come on forward. Please sign in and then state your name for the record.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Colleen Lawrence. I'm a business owner in town, and I was actually going to echo regarding the testing standards and the frequency. I would encourage the board not to change testing standards, frequency, or anything that is outside of the Department of Education, the state board or State Department of Education. For businesses who actually go after grants within the state for our businesses. If we have a frequency that's outside of standards from the Department of Education and the county is different, it makes it really difficult for us to compare the testing and any type of our numbers and our dollar amounts. And I can attest to that because I have actually brought down very large grants for Douglas County schools for our community. And if I have numbers that are outside of the state of Nevada for Department of Education, and our numbers, our frequency, our testing, or anything like that is different than the state Department of Education, it is very hard for us to compare because the Nevada Department of Education uses standardized guidelines across the nation. So I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Colleen. Okay. Anything else from the board? Doug, did you have something?
So you say we could vote on this now and then next year we would bring this up as a future agenda item and discuss it.
Board always has the ability to agendize.
But I mean,
This,
that's
yeah.
the,
Yeah.
would be the procedure for doing that.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm. And we're going to move forward with the action plan. So that would be part of the new board as well. Okay. So a motion was made, a second. I think we'll go ahead then and take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Okay, we're on to public comment, but we cannot do public comment until 5:30. So I think what we'll do,
Start it and then. You can do it now and then do it again at 5:30.
okay, let's do it then. All right, that's a great idea. Okay, we'll go ahead then and move to public comment. We'll just make sure that it goes until at least 5:30. And yeah, so there is a sign up sheet. Anyone that wants to speak, we should have had you sign up earlier, but we didn't. So if, oh, is their names on there? Thank you. Okay, perfect. I didn't see that. Is there anyone else that wanted to be on there? Or we'll give them another one they can sign up on, but I will explain that, yes. Yeah. Okay, so at this time, we're going to start public comment. Comments from the public are invited at this time on topics that are not specifically addressed elsewhere in the agenda. A sign-up sheet that I have in my hand is provided for those that wish to speak. We will ask you to limit it to 3 minutes. Trustee Chichester has some cards in his hand, and he will give you the yellow means what?
30 seconds.
30 seconds left, and then the red means you stop. And also you need to know that we cannot comment back to you on public comment. So if you ask questions, we can't respond, but we'll take note of it, and you can always hang around and ask us later too. So, all right, we'll go ahead. Great, that would be awesome. Thank you, John.
Good evening, all of you constituents online. If you are via a computer, you can click the raise hand button to participate in public comment. If you are on a phone, it is *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself. And we will call on you as the public comment progresses.
Thank you, John. I have a list here and some of you have already spoken. I'm just going to call the names off. And if you want to come up and do public comment again, you're welcome to. Okay. Nicholas, did you want to come up? Because we are recording, could you state your name again for the record?
Nicholas Meyer. We will have a new DCS school board in January. I hope this new board will provide the transparency that has been lacking from the current board. Parents deserve to know what curriculum their children are being taught. They deserve to know how their children are being tested to prove their mastery of subject matter. They deserve that the results of testing are published on the website and that these results are compared with other school districts. I have reviewed the DCS website in detail. There's no section on the website that presents this data on testing. There's no discussion of testing methodology or what children are being tested against. NRS statutes require that all 11th graders take the ACT test. Our 11th graders took the test in spring of 2022. Where are the published results? Robbie Lehman stated in 2 public debates that the scores of Douglas High AP students are equivalent to Massachusetts AP students. This is great news, if it's true. Where's the data? Why isn't it presented on the website and communicated to parents? DCSD received over $6.5 million in ESSER funding. These are COVID federal dollars that came to our school district, our tax dollars. Community and parents deserve to know how these funds were spent and how these funds enabled their children to accelerate their learning because of the shutdown of schools. I fervently hope that the new board strives to provide full transparency on curriculum, testing, and budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, next would be Adam.
Is the mic on? Yeah. I guess
Yeah, it is. Go ahead.
Okay, great. My name's Adam Lazier. I'm a retired teacher here in the district. I taught 22 years at Douglas High and 6 years in California. Prior to that, Mr. Kangas, I believe I taught your daughter. Yeah, I worked with your wife and so on. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, I've been around a little bit. And I'm here tonight to just voice my support for Superintendent Keith Lewis. He's been a great leader for the district, and he's somebody that I've enjoyed following as when I was teaching. And my wife worked under him as principal, and then when he moved up to the DO, you know, he was the superintendent for both of us for a bunch of years before we retired. So anyway, that's what I'm here to say tonight, and to voice my strong support for Mr. Keith Lewis. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lazier. Next on our list is Virginia. Nope, you're passing. Okay. Nicholas, Susie. No, you're all done. And Colleen, you already spoke. Did you want to speak again? Okay. All right, well, we have to wait for a couple minutes till 5:30. Oh, is there anybody in line? Oh, dang. Oh, yeah. Yeah, over there.
Hi, my name is Martha Betcher. For the record, I've lived in this community for more than 30 years. My husband and I raised a child who attended Scarcelli, Powaloo Middle School, and Douglas High. She was part of the school district as a student for 12 years. She's 26 now. And I guess I can do this. I think she's an incredible example of what the school district can and does produce on a regular basis. She's a college graduate. She's living and working happily in Southern California. She has a career that she loves. And if she were here with me, she'd be saying that the schools helped her in that effort. So yeah, I just want to get that out there. My husband taught math, science, and outdoor skills, first at CVMS when he started with the district in 1989. And then he moved over to Powaloo when they opened there. He retired about 10 years ago. I was hired at CVMS in 2000 to be the middle school librarian. And I worked there for 17 years and loved my time very much, working with Keith as vice principal at CVMS. I've been retired now for 5 years. I believe that DCSD does good work. We have great teachers, we have good administrators, and there's so many stories about how things work well. I mean, I was just telling somebody who's new to the district about some of the family groups, Pam Petit, who's the librarian at GES. And her son is a social studies teacher at Douglas High, Ethan Petit, AP history. And then his wife inspired my daughter incredibly to do beautiful ceramics work. And she just sent us a bunch of photos of the stuff she's been creating lately. I mean, it's those kind of stories that you learn being in the community for a long time. Trustee is a tough job. You're supposed to educate, feed, supervise, and essentially care for our kids while interpreting a sprawling, frequently contradictory framework of state, federal funding, and performance mandates. At best, you three are beginners, and I encourage you to tap the experience that's here and understand that Keith Lewis is a huge asset to this hard job that you guys are just taking on now. Congratulations, but give yourself some warm-up time. Thank you, Mr. Chichester.
Thank you, Martha. Anybody online? Okay, I guess it's, yeah, we can, yeah. All right, I guess we can close public comment. Thank you to all of you that are here and that came up to speak and are just here for support. We're going to move on then to item number 14, and this is the formal superintendent evaluation. We were all sent a document that we were asked to fill out with 10 identifying competencies. And then we send them back in and they're grouped and scored. So as a board, what we'll do now is we'll go around and evaluate our superintendent in public. So I can ask, would anyone like to begin? I'll jump at once.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
I'll start.
Okay, Trustee Chichester, thank you.
I think this is an evaluation that we've used for a couple of years. And
Ross, can you tuck into your mic? Thanks. That's okay.
this is an evaluation that we've used for a couple of years. I think it's a good evaluation that allows you to put in some good things and some bad things that you'd like to see changed or some things that you think need improvement. I think that my take on this thing, and I rated him this way, was very, very highly effective. I think he's done a wonderful job for the district. I think he's one of the best superintendents, and because I've only worked with a couple, but one of the best that there has been in the district. I think he works hard. In fact, I know he works hard because I live down the street from the DO and I see his car there all hours of the day and night. Okay. And that just doesn't happen. Okay. I mean, he has to be there working all the time. I see him there on Saturdays. I see him there on Sundays in his family time. And he puts in the time that it takes to be a superintendent. And he makes sure that we are very, very well informed. In fact, I walk into his office at least weekly, just knock on the door, outside the door, and Karen lets me in. And we have a little conversation of things that may be happening or that we should know about. And he makes sure that he tells the entire board what's going on. And I think that's important. And I rated him as very highly effective, and that will not change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. Carrie?
I also rated Superintendent Lewis as highly effective. I think that he leads this entire district with integrity. I think he gives support to everyone that works for him. He is very, very transparent with the problems in the district and his needs from his parents. He leads by example. And he leads with encouragement and highly effective.
Thank you. Rob?
Also rated Keith highly effective for a few reasons. I think you'll find a good leader will be respected and liked by most of the people they lead, and not by all of them. If you're universally liked, you're probably too much of a pushover. And that's true within our district. We have a majority of our employees respect and like Mr. Lewis, and some don't. And that's okay. I believe it's because he's made decisions that are hard and holds people accountable and expects the best out of people. I've worked with 3 superintendents now at this point. I agree that Keith is one, he's fantastic. I don't want to put down any of our other superintendents, but Keith is an amazing superintendent. Had the joy of basically following him around on the first day of school this year to the different schools. And to end my evaluation, I'll just talk about one incident at Jacks Valley. We'd kind of go into a school and we'd mostly everyone go to the same place, and some people would kind of wander a little bit and go and see different places. And as we were leaving, we were all walking out of the building. Keith wasn't with us. And we looked over and he was sitting down with a group of, I don't know for sure, kindergartners. You remember this.
Yeah.
Kindergartners, first graders, something like that. But he was at lunch with them, chatting with them, and they were engaged and he was engaged. And it was that's just who Keith is. He loves our kids. He loves our employees. He bends over backwards for them. As Keith's, you don't have to live down the street to know that Keith's at work all the time. All you have to do is drive County Road on a regular basis. And you'll see his car there all the time. And so I think Keith is a fantastic superintendent, a huge asset to our district, and highly effective.
Thank you. Doug?
I too think you're doing yeoman's work here. I only recently figured out what yeoman is, but anyway, it's always a term I'd heard, but anyway, no, it's amazing to me the amount of stuff that you bring to our attention. And it just, to me, it only means that, yeah, you've got a lot going on, a lot on your plate. And I very much appreciate that. And I rated you highly effective. You didn't get 100% though, so I don't want you to get cocky. Just to keep you in the stratosphere here, the one thing I thought maybe we could work on is, I don't believe that pros and cons, particularly cons, are given on some presentations about things. I think, a lot of things that come out we hear the rosy side of it. We don't necessarily hear the cons, but other than that, I think I really appreciate working with you, and thank you for your service.
Heather?
Also said highly effective. He has very high expectations for himself and then for everyone that works underneath him. And he helps them achieve those high expectations and is always working to, okay, well, what's the next goal that we can have and how can we make things better? And I love his love and care for the students. I know the first time I really got to know him as working in the school district was when he was the principal at Paualu, and he knew every student's name. And you could never find him in his office because he was always out in the halls talking to the kids in the classrooms. He was a part of everything. And so I like how he's constantly meeting with administrators. The same thing here. I have a hard time finding him in his office here because he's at the schools, working, and meeting with the administrators, meeting with the teachers, meeting with everyone. I like the town halls that he has so that he can work with parents. He keeps himself very open to everyone so that everyone has the opportunity to talk with him, to ask questions, whatever they need. I like the programs that he has working with EPIC and the SEL, all the things that he has going on. I think those are great and what are helping our students to become the best that they can. I also did mark down too that he has a great partnership with Sheriff Coverly. And so our schools are safe because Keith Lewis works with our sheriff's department. When I was talking to Sheriff Coverly not too long ago, he said that Keith is always talking about like, okay, well, here's what we're thinking. How would that affect your part? And how would that affect what you're doing? And always takes things by Sheriff Coverly and says, how is this going to work? And I think that's an important partnership. And I really think that's a great way that he communicates and works with the community around him. So as Doug said, though, I I can't ever give anyone 100%. I've been around too many of our high school teachers that make sure that our students never get 100% so that they can always know they can do better, which I think is wonderful. I love that. And so I think the things I would talk about is, I know you've started working in speaking at community events, in community groups and stuff, and I would just encourage that to continue. And continuing to do the town hall meetings and to working to correct false information when it comes out. I think that the communication throughout with the whole community is an area that continues to need improvement. But overall, I think Keith is amazing. I think he's done great things for our district, great things for our students. And I'm grateful for all that he has done for my kids that are also in the school district.
Thank you, Heather.
And I'd like to clear the air that be highly effective. He doesn't get a perfect score, doesn't take a perfect score, but communications with the public are a sore spot with our public. It's obvious, and as you can almost not do too much, and you're doing a great job of that effort.
Thank you. Being last, there's not a whole lot I can say that's hasn't already been said. Keith has taken us through a very tough time through those COVID years. And even as a board, I mean, we all had to make tough decisions, and we know they weren't popular, but you know, you maintained your cool and your grace, and I always felt, and I feel this way with our board, that we always kept our kids up front, what was best for our students and our teachers and our community. And I mean, I think our teachers in our community, most of them do respect that you have high integrity, you're honest. Are you liked by every single person? No, no one is, but you have a lot of respect from your staff, from the community. And you can see that, just people that are here too. I feel that, let me see what else I wrote. I feel that you are a very strong leader. I have truly enjoyed being on the board with you as our superintendent. You are a great communicator. There's, you let everyone know, and you keep us all informed. Being the president, it's not just I know, but everybody knows what I know, and I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, you always provide us with the information that we need to make good decisions. And yeah, you can tell how much you love and care about our schools and about our community. And I gave you also highly effective. So there you go. Thank you. All right, at this time, let's see, do we have to do anything with this? Yeah, the evaluation, I guess someone has to make a motion that we accept it.
Motion.
Do we?
That we,
Put discussion and possible action, it says.
like, that we rate him as highly effective?
Yes,
Is that what
yes,
we're saying?
I guess so.
So I make a motion that the board has rated Keith Lewis as highly effective.
Now we'll call for public comment. This is the time where the public can come up and talk about this topic if you'd like to. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Whoa, okay. You jumped up. If you could, please, yeah, you have 3 minutes. Why don't you put that on the table? Or maybe, no, instead leave it there and then have people who want to speak go up and sign up, and then we'll grab it.
I will happily go back and grab. My name is Blaine Sky, principal of CC Manila. I appreciate everything that the board said, and I want to reiterate some key pieces. I've worked under Keith now for two years, going on 3. Words matter, and Keith is a man of integrity. And you know that what comes out, you can trust. And you all mostly said the word love, that he loves this job. He loves what he does for our kids. He loves us. He supports us. A good leader is somebody that you will follow. And he does that. None of us are perfect. There's room for growth, but he models that. He's never going to tell you how hard he works, show up with a smile on his face, but he gives us clear expectations. At the end of every year, here they are, what I expect. And he expects that all of us work hard. And nobody works harder than Keith. And you'd see that. You're never going to hear about it. But he puts our kids first, our schools first. Is this 26 years you've been here, Keith? I mean, 27. I've been here my entire life. I've gone through our schools and I'm here because of what our schools have done. Keith is a phenomenal superintendent. I am proud to work for him. I am proud to be part of Douglas County and to have him as our leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
My name is Carrie Clement, and I have been teaching in the district at Scarcely Elementary for 27 years. I started when Keith started. We sat through some of that PDC training together. But I've worked in that 27 years, I think, for 4 different superintendents, and they were all good, but Keith is amazing. I appreciate as a teacher that I can email him and say, hey, I need to meet real quick. I have a quick question, or I need to talk to you about something. And he gets right back to me and I can meet with him. And that means a lot. He's been very open. He's the only superintendent we've had that I felt like I can approach with anything. And I know as teachers, there's a bunch of us that feel that way as employees. And if anything, I worry, we all worry that something might happen, that he might have to leave, and that it makes a lot of teachers think about our futures and where we will end up going. That's how much this man is loved. We know he loves kids. We see how he supports kids, but he also supports his employees just as much. And so I appreciate that. He asks me, I will see him out in the public sometimes, and he will even ask about my own children and how they are doing. And he doesn't have to do that. But I appreciate it. And I know he's well loved and appreciated by staff, most of the staff. So I just want to let the board know that.
Thank you, Mrs. Clement.
Good evening. I'm Rami Cronin Mack, and I'm really happy to have this opportunity to say how enthusiastically I support your decision to rate Superintendent Lewis as highly effective. I am formally an executive director here at Douglas County Schools. I am born and raised native Nevadan, Douglas County. I'm a product of Douglas County. My father was an administrator in this district for 35 years. And so between the two of us, we have quite a bit of time here in Douglas County. I had the wonderful opportunity as an administrator in this district to work for 5 different superintendents. And I can say, and that in that time, not one of them, I don't think, was the same level of leader that you have endorsed this evening. So thank you for doing that. Superintendent Lewis, as you know, is very knowledgeable of DCSD because he lives in this community. He's been in this community since he began his career. He has children who go to these schools, and he's invested. He has demonstrated just to all of you tonight, and I say this to the benefit of the new board members coming in, he has worked really hard to understand every part of this job and every part of the school district. Earlier, when he spoke to Invest, he demonstrated to you that he understands Nevada politics, and his role as a superintendent in the upcoming legislative session is critical. He needs to be invested, and he's done the work to understand so he can be an advocate on behalf of the students of Douglas County. He also has demonstrated that he's learned really that he needs to be knowledgeable about all parts of the house. We know that instruction is the primary focus, but there are other pieces within the district that have to be important. And one of them, as you heard tonight, was capital improvements. He demonstrated through that facilities presentation that Mr. Demas talked about, that he knows what money can be allocated to what specific pots or pools, and how important having high quality facilities are. His background in human resources has made him also exceptional compared to many of the other superintendents that I've worked for. And of course, as everybody's already said, he has extremely high expectations. I miss that. I miss a little bit of having that, him calling me out on a regular basis. Now I go out and play and he's not calling me out anymore, but it's okay. Finally, and this was always already said, and Linda spoke to this well, is that he led us through a pandemic. Not one of us ever in our education thought that we would have to do that. And he was brand new and he led us through, right? And we followed and we gave him lots of support, but we figured it out. But it's because he had that vision for all students to be safe and welcomed in our community. So thank you for endorsing him as being highly effective. He truly is. And he is one of the greatest leaders that Douglas County has ever had.
Thank you, Ms. Cronenmack. I don't know who's on the list. I can't see the list. So you're kind of on your honor system over there.
Hello, my name is Amy Carter. I am a parent here in the district. I am also a vice principal at Minden Elementary and Gardnerville Elementary School. I'm a little different than everybody else that's got up here to talk. I am not a native from here. I am from Washington State. However, I've taught in 4 different states. I've taught for 20 years. And I've had a lot of different superintendents. And Keith Lewis is probably the most down-to-earth and accessible superintendent I've ever worked for. His integrity, as we've said a few times tonight, is exceptional. He is honest and transparent. And I feel as a parent, not an educator, but as a parent, I could have went to him with questions and he would have been honest and straightforward. And sometimes those are things we don't want to hear, but yet he is that way. He is transparent and straightforward. I think he's very progressive and forward thinking. Not only were we going through a pandemic, but we are also having a completely new initiative and protocols and procedures with our epic learning. But he is not thinking about now for our children. He's thinking about the future for them and their careers and where our world is going. And so our epic curriculum and our epic components that we have in our classrooms are amazing. And it's amazing to watch all of you and our cabinet and Mr. Lewis come in and connect with kids over what they're learning. And when we can have kindergartners explaining their learning and how to do better in their classroom is amazing. And just like you said, Mr. Lehman, having Mr. Lewis there on the floor, talking to kids, asking them to show themselves off. They don't know who he is, right? They don't know he's the superintendent. He's just a dad, a parent that's here connecting with them. And it's evident that he can do that. And he can do that on a personal level with his kids, his staff, and families in the community. So thank you, Mr. Lewis, for all you do.
Thank you, Amy. Is there somebody online? Okay, I'm gonna go let Mr. Nick go ahead and speak and Mr. Mayor, and then we'll go to that person.
Nicholas Meyer. I want to acknowledge all the praise and acknowledgement from the principals and teachers who have worked with Keith Lewis over the years. He obviously has many fine leadership qualities and does deeply care about our children. But I also need to remind the community that Mr. Lewis invited CNN here and used our kids as props for CNN to do a story about critical race theory, knowing full well that from a professional development standpoint, the book that was used to train new teachers, okay, cultural responsive teaching and the brain, okay, has critical race theory in it. And Mr. Lewis refused to acknowledge that for many, many months until the community brought that to his attention multiple times at board meetings. Secondly, Mr. Lewis is deficient in communicating with the community about academic achievement, testing standards, and the achievement and the curriculum of what children are learning in school. That is a deficiency, and that should be noted by this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Is there someone else that wanted to? We need another paper for sign that. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, go ahead, sign it again. Yeah, we're gonna go online first. Go ahead. Yes. Yay, flash from the past. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mr. Moore. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tom Moore,
And as some of you know, I was on the school board and had the honor of working with 5 superintendents under my 14-year career. And I can't tell you how pleased I am that the board is supporting and recognizing the traits that Mr. Lewis has. I don't think that the board can do any better than supporting him. The working relationship that I see that continues between the board and Mr. Lewis needs to be commended. And as the board knows, and as a lot of the folks have already talked about, the skills that Keith has. I think he is the best asset in the district as well as this board. And I just wanted to let everybody know how good it is to see this relationship continuing to work forward to the best interest of our kids in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Who do we have next?
Good evening, Madam President and Board. So my name is Colleen Lawrence. I introduced myself earlier, but I am multiple hats in this community. I raised my children in the Douglas County School District, and I also have multiple businesses, small businesses in this community. So a couple words that I would describe Mr. Lewis is adaptable, safe, respectful, and leadership. So I sent a text real quick to my daughter who's 22, and I have a son who's 25 who was raised in the school system. And I said, what was that program that you had at, and I accidentally put CVMS, help me. And she said, Mom, it was CC, Vanilli, get it right. It was Safe School Ambassadors program, right? The Safe School Ambassador program, if we all remember, was the original program to learn about bully prevention and to help guide our kids on leadership track. When the kids went to Powwow, they had Mr. Lewis, both my children. That was the beginning program of me and Mr. Lewis having a very strong friendship of my daughter being tied to Mr. Lewis because she was going to protect everybody in the school district. And she became, that's when they started the Safe School Resource Officer program too, right? And she was going to just save the world and make sure there was no bullying happening at all at Powwow. Today, she is an intern at Reno PD Police Department in the MOST team. We know that administrators, school administrators, and teachers have a high influence on how youth turn out in the community. Mr. Lewis is a perfect example of what has happened with my child. He had a strong influence from Powwow days of how to literally have this little girl who literally strung on to him all the time of Mr. Lewis, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Lewis. And I would have to call and I'd be like, she's fine. She's fine. It's okay. Stop calling me Mr. Lewis. It's fine. Right? Because that's what she did all the time. He was adaptable on knowing that the school resource office program was an important program. Fast forward to today, I run one of the larger outpatient mental health programs in Douglas County. I also run, which is Thrive. I also run Moxie Up. We just are bringing in one of the first autism programs in Douglas County. Guess who we partnered with? Mr. Lewis and the Douglas County School District to make sure that these two programs came forward. He was able to adapt to see that these programs needed to come forward. Being able to be adaptable and innovative to see that these type of programs needed to come for our school district, for our kids in the community, to see that we could partner together is what's needed. And I'm getting my flag, my red flag, so I don't want to go over time. It was safe, and that he knew that these kids need to be in a safe environment. That's what a leadership is partnering with our kids in the community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Okay, thanks. I don't have the sheet, so I don't know what's.
My name is Monica Hart, and I'm a teacher in the district. And I've been with Douglas County School District this is my 29th year. And back when Keith Lewis first came to the district, he took someone's spot who was on a 1 year leave of absence, and he was a PE teacher. And I remember we would walk by with our class and we would see what he was doing, and all the teachers were like, oh my gosh, I want to go do that. He was so engaging with the kids. And at the end of that year, we all gathered, that the teacher was coming back, so he didn't have that spot. And we were saying, you have to keep this man. He is an amazing educator. So from PE teacher, then he became a parent of a student in my class. And I connected with Keith on a teacher parent level. And then he was the administrator at Powaloo, and 2 of my kids went to Powaloo, so he was the administrator. And one of my children has an IEP, and he was an advocate for my son. He came in and looked at the IEP and said, we're going to change this, 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 and this. This is going to help protect your son. And he looked out for his best interest. And as a parent, that's just something that you can't explain how important that is. In my 29 years, I have been through many, many superintendents. We had one superintendent come through and I thought, ooh, that's the best one we've had, until Keith Lewis came. And Keith sets the bar so high, I don't know that we could have a better superintendent. And right now we have a national teacher shortage, and the way he treats his employees, the way he treats his students, the teachers want to teach here. Once you're here, you want to stay because this is a family. And I commend you for rating him highly effective, because he is a very highly effective superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. If you know you're next on the list, come on up.
Greetings to the board. My name is Adam Dedman. I'm the principal at Powaloo Middle School, and I have the misfortune of doing this job after Mr. Lewis did it, so I get compared to him quite a bit. I won't take up all the time, Mr. Chichester, don't worry. I just want to say that I've worked with Keith for 21 years, and all the wonderful things that people have said about him are true and more. And I looked at the contract you've negotiated, and all I wanted to say to you is you have a real bargain in front of you, because you have an incredible leader. And
Yeah, you can't talk about that, sorry.
sorry, I didn't say that.
Yeah. It's on our
But I
agenda.
think
You can say it later, not now.
say what
Save
later?
that. Whatever. I don't know.
There you go. So I think you have an opportunity to make a really good deal here with Superintendent Lewis. So I would just like to encourage you to do that. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dedman. Is there anybody else on? Oh, okay, Mr. Harvey.
Good evening. My name is Bill Harvey, for the record, and I just want to reiterate what everybody else has said tonight. But more importantly, I look at your computer sitting here and I see Epic, and I am, for the record, I am a parent of 2 students who went through the K-12 through Douglas County School District. I am an employee for 22 plus years. I'm a principal at GES, and I look at Epic and I know what it stands for, but I look at Keith and he epitomizes every one of those words. Every single one of those words. He empowers our students. He prepares our students. He inspires me as a leader, and he connects. We recently walked my school, and just as he walked down the hallway, just interacting with students, he is about kids. And that's what I want in a leader for this school district, somebody that I want to work for. So thank you for listening, and thank you, Keith, for everything you do.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Mr. Harvey, for not saying if I was your dad.
Good evening. My name is Minos Dobson, and I graduated this year in June. And I have had the privilege of knowing Mr. Lewis for a few years, and I just want to say I did not succeed academically. In my junior year, I started succeeding academically the best I've ever succeeded. And that continued through my senior year, and that has now continued through my freshman year of college. I'm getting straight A's across the board. And one, I'd like to credit that to Douglas County School District. I was born and raised here, and I got all my education through DCSD. And I cannot rave enough about Mr. Keith Lewis. He has been phenomenal. I remember him constantly in the commons at Douglas High School, checking in with students before school, during passing periods, after school. And he was constantly involved in checking in with students. And I would just like to say that everyone here tonight who gave him outstanding, I don't remember off the top of my head, he deserves that. And that's all I really have to say. And thank you for the job you do. You are a hero.
Thank you, Ms. Minos. Thank you. Online? Okay, I'm gonna hold you right there just for a second, put you in holding. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Yes, I think it's probably Sharon. Can you unmute, please?
Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, my name is Sharon Desjardins, and I probably have one of the least amount of years here from everybody that's spoken in the district, but I had the privilege to be hired by Mr. Lewis. When I was living in Hawaii, he hired me via Skype to come and be his secretary. And I just want everybody to know that he was the most amazing supervisor I have ever had in my 42 years of my working career. I have never worked for anybody that had the integrity, the personality. He's just so well-rounded. I think about the times he had to call students in and discipline them, which was not the fun part of being the principal, but when they left his office, they felt that they had been treated fairly. And I just thought that was so remarkable that kids didn't walk out going, oh, I hate Mr. Lewis. You didn't hear that from those students that came out of that office. And he was always involved out at lunchtime with the students or walking the halls. He made work fun. We laughed every day, but he was so professional and kept the school just so organized. And I worked in the school district at Powwalu for 5 years. I like to say I retired 4 years ago, but I guess that hasn't really happened because every year I have taken some type of long-term sub job. And I'm currently working at Douglas High School in a subsecretary job. And I just want to say thank you, Mr. Lewis, for giving me the opportunity to come to work for Douglas County School District and being the most amazing boss I've ever had in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Next.
Good evening, Christine Traming. First of all, I also wear or have worn many hats in the school district. And I will say that with the teacher hat on, I started out in Lyon County School District. I have worked with 5 superintendents now. And having come from Lyon County School District and coming into the Lighthouse District, and I have to say at many professional developments, I would sit back in these trainings and I would ask myself, why is this considered the Lighthouse District? What you are currently talking about bringing into the school district right now is what Lyon County was doing about 4 years ago. And I just want to thank you for bringing in EPIC. I genuinely 100% feel like I truly work for the Lighthouse District now. Students are no longer, it's no longer a cookie cutter situation. With a parent hat on, I have a 23-year-old in Florida who still asks after Mr. Lewis. I have a 20-year-old still here in Douglas County who often asks after Mr. Lewis. And as you can see from parents, teachers, and students here, I mean, how can you top that? Mr. Lewis doesn't need to invite CNN to come down here and a bunch of students. They willingly come on their own. They require about him on their own.
Thank you. Is that everybody? Going once, going twice. All righty. We'll close public comment. Or actually, that was a Freedom, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, I forgot. It's been a while. Okay. All righty. So we'll bring it to a vote, right? All right. All those, let's see, where were we? We are on
14.
number 14. Thank you. The evaluation. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Thank you all for being here and for your comments. Next, we're going to move on to the item number 15. And item 15 is the superintendent contract revision, again, for discussion and possible action. Mr. Lewis, I'm going to turn it over to you right now, if you don't mind.
Thank you, President Gilkerson. I would like to invite Jim and Laura Hugie up to the front. And as they are coming up to the front, I do want to disclose that I am not under contract with Jim or Laura Hugie, nor do they stand to gain anything financially for their assistance in this process or my contract. Thank you.
Yeah, what their role is.
Their role, and we're going to get into this, is that we requested their assistance as longtime consultants with school districts here in Nevada and across the world, actually. They have a very vast background in Nevada schools and superintendent searches. They twice conducted searches here in Douglas County, and we asked them to assist us in this process of the negotiations.
Thank you. What I'd like to just let you know is that back in June, at our June board meeting, excuse me, we selected trustee Chichester to negotiate and revise contract with the superintendent on our behalf, on the board's behalf, and to bring a tentative agreement back to the board for discussion and possible approval. Ross, turn it over to you.
Well, I think, okay, are we ready for me now?
Yeah.
Okay. You all have the copy of what we did. What we're trying to do is we're trying to keep our superintendent salary both comparable to entities around us and competitive so that we can keep and hire the best people. Has everybody read the contract? Okay, I can go through the changes if you want me to, the major changes. If you feel the need, I will definitely do that for you. Like that?
I don't.
Probably should.
Probably should.
Hear
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay. So what we're doing is there's two parts to this. There's a contract over here, the rates that are being paid to other entities around us, and we most closely align with Lion Story Carson. And our base salary is 160. I propose moving it to 175. That puts us barely above the minimum range of the next county above us, or that we compare with, barely. And then increased annual steps increase 2 to 3%. And also because we haven't been able to do this, and the other counties have been able to do this, or they provide some sort of a contribution annually to a tax shouldered annuity. Okay, I asked the board for the one-time money, which to buy 1 year's service credit from Nevada PERS. The reason being is we haven't, it's one-time money. We can't really afford to go a lot higher because that multiplies on itself. And that's why we came up with this, the purchase of 1 year's service credit from Nevada PERS. The other changes, should the board desire, this is without cause. They need to provide Mr. Lewis with 90 days written notification. Previously, that was 30 days. And should they choose to terminate after that 90 days, once he is terminated, he would receive a lump sum equal to 12 months of his salary at the time of termination, and a lump sum of contributions paid on PERS on his behalf, and also monthly reimbursement for COBRA for him and his family for 12 months. The language also states a failure of Superintendent Lewis to comply with the board directive, which violates a legal mandate imposed by the United States or the state of Nevada Constitution, shall not terminate or constitute cause for termination. Total for the new fiscal year 23 is approximately $12,340 in salary and benefits, and the $66,860 for the purchase of the PERS service credit. And I still think this is a deal compared to what other counties around us, surrounding counties are doing. Carson City has a first year, I believe, superintendent that's at 170. Keith's a third year and 160. We've got Lyon County at 230, and they're all comparable. Story County with 448 kids is 170, and we're asking for 175, and we have 5,400 kids. So I think this is completely reasonable. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Okay. Board questions. Rob?
Not as much a question as just a comment. Our guests here have been introduced, but I know when we went into this, Ross was our representative, but that doesn't mean I didn't do my own due diligence and research. And I certainly wanted the input of Mr. Hughie and his wife, because they know the fair market value of a superintendent, that this is what they do. And I'm very thankful for you guys showing up tonight without compensation. That's really nice. So
I hope to get a dinner out of you sometime.
I'll do that.
But I'll report it to Rick if I do.
All right. So,
All right.
do we want to hear from them?
Yes. We'd like you to go ahead and speak on this, on the contract, please.
Okay, I think I can make this really brief. Most of it. Nope. Okay. I used to do radio broadcasts. You'd think I'd know how. I'm really have enjoyed my work in Douglas County. I have not worked in Douglas County as a paid consultant with Keith as a superintendent, but I've worked in the district for more than 15 years, as I have with numerous other districts throughout the Nevada. And my major claim to being an expert in this is that I'm older than everybody else. Usually has me by a few years, but not many more. And I would reiterate what Ross said. What you're proposing is a bargain contract for a great superintendent. And forgive me, I will get emotional. I had a couple of health issues. I'm doing fine. I'm going to live another year or two, I hope. But I've got, it causes me, I've always been emotional, but once in a while, I can't control the emotion. And it's more when it's positive than when it's negative. So if I break down and cry, Laura will take over.
Try that real too. Said I do the same thing.
Good, we should form a club.
Yep.
First of all, the market is such, and we're often asked, and I think we've worked with all but half a dozen districts in Nevada, and then recently many in California, especially San Diego and Los Angeles counties. And we're often asked to do the same thing, and that is to come in and say, what's fair compensation for a good superintendent? And they always add, what can we do to keep this person? Because there's nothing more important to achieving the goals you want for the students than quality, consistent leadership. And Keith has provided. Your turn. This is Laura, by the way, former assistant superintendent in HR for Washoe County. Is the brain behind a little bit of work.
I'm actually not, I'm the bench player, but I will help in when you need it. But I think the point that Jim was making is that having continuity in leadership, having some expectations that people come to know and understand has been evidenced to make a difference in student achievement. And having turmoil and learning new leaders' expectations and ways of working could be a drag on student achievement. So there is some value in recognizing when you have an effective leader that keeping the climate, keeping the workforce, you heard from many people tonight about the benefits that they perceive of the leadership that's happening right now. that is probably echoed in your student achievement and will continue to be so. And I hope that that was the point you were.
And I didn't even write that out. The what Laura's referring to is there have been a number of studies done that if you have consistent leadership over time, and that leader is a good leader, as you've said tonight, highly effective. If you have that, the student achievement level goes up. I recognize that the community is asking for more transparency around how are we doing up there. I know that you'll take that on. That's partially due to COVID and haven't had the testing the same way. The map gives you a major part of that. The main thing I want to say is that what you're getting is a bargain in terms of comparison to other districts. And the buying of a year is still less than what has happened. And there are huge advantages to that. One, it's not accelerating his departure, but it's saying we recognize the leadership and highly effective leadership. And it recognizes your great work during COVID. Now, it's not a COVID bonus because all of your staff did a huge amount of work on COVID. And they're continuing to, but it's recognizing that consistent leadership over time. When I was a rookie principal in a large high school 50 years ago, and I hate to say that because that really shows how, but I was part of a group that the Kettering Foundation funded to study school climate in high schools. And then we transferred it, the information that we learned to superintendents. And what we found is that there were 8 common factors, but 3 of which were ranked highest on the part of the leader that created the climate for kids to achieve, for the staff to be willing to put in the hours and the work necessary to personalize instruction. And those 3 were these: trust, which you've heard over and over tonight, and it's our experience. Laura worked in the district for a short time here in Douglas as the interim HR director when, many years ago. Anyway, not that long ago. But at any rate, it's very clear that he has the trust of the staff and he has the trust of those of you who worked with him on the board. And that's something that once it's broken, it's exceedingly difficult to get back. And you have someone who's established that through his 27 years in the district. The other one is respect. And obviously he has the respect of the people he works with because he's willing to not only do the work that looks good, he's willing to do the work that's necessary to have other people perform it. And then the last one is caring. And he illustrates that with every kid, with every parent. And I remember when we first worked with the district, he was a principal at the time, and it was so obvious when I went into his school. You can tell after having done all the work that I've done in many schools. You can walk down the hall and you can tell what the principal's like. And he obviously had that at a high degree. The thing I would say is he's not only highly competent and highly effective, but I'm confident you're aware, and I wish I'd had time, Laura and I looked at it quickly, but I'm sure you're aware, but there's a group called Niche. It's nationwide, and they look at school data to try and say, if you're moving to a new community, what schools do you want that will match up with your kids' needs? They rank the school districts in every state.
And this year Niche reports Douglas County School District is the #1 school district on the measures that are important to parents considering where they want to put their students.
And what we wanted to look at was the criteria. It's like the Newsweek on colleges. Unless you know the criteria, it doesn't give you all that. But one thing that it we do know is that they rank the teachers here as the number one teachers in the state too. That comes about because you have a climate leader and you have the HR person who hired many of them. Now, he didn't do it alone, but with others. And this district is now one of the employers of choice in this region. And that's because, and then I want to talk a little bit about the compensation, then I'll throw it open to questions for Laura. That was humor. The buying of the PERS is a bargain for you in this way. And it's the right year to do it. So first of all, it costs less. You're investing $66,000, I think. If you were to give that in a comparable salary, it would cost you 30% more. Because buying the PERS does not force you to pay your half of PERS on it if it were put in salary. Secondly, it's a one-time expenditure. It doesn't have a continuing revenue stream required. So you're not burdening it on the future. And then two other very important factors. One, you have a great ending fund balance this time. And you have one-time ESSER funds that can be used for making this kind of a payment. It's also a way to say, we appreciate the great work you've done. We'd like to have you stay. And I know in conversations with Keith that he and his family would love to finish his career here. And his family would love to be able to stay and finish their schooling. So I'll throw it open to questions, but I just think that the contract you put together is fair. It's still not as high as the districts around you, considering both quality of district and length of time that they've served. But it is an improvement and recognizes the work that he has done. So we'll throw it open to questions, and please forgive my emotion. It's something I can't deal with right now.
Thank you very much. Do we want to go ahead then and make a motion?
Let's do it.
Are there any questions from the board?
I guess I've gotten some communications with people in the district concerned about the fact that, well, basically we're saying the greed of this type of thing when teachers, are struggling to get teachers into pay. And I'm just bringing this forward. It's not necessarily my opinion, but I just want your comment on if this is the best use of our money versus maybe increases for teachers or something.
No, I don't think it's I don't think it's an or question. I think it's fair compensation that will motivate him to continue to work at the level he's been working. And that then you could take a look at your teacher compensation compared with others around you. Apply some of the same measures that we looked at. I don't think it's in any way taking things away from teachers. I'd have to look at the total number of staff, but if you took the 66,000 plus the slight increase and divided that by the total number of employees or the teaching staff, it would not be a raise that would be that significant. But I would hope that you would take a look at where do we rank in terms of teacher salary with those around us, because that's only going to continue to be a problem if you don't get it up to a highly competitive level. They want to work here now because of the climate, but it also takes, as you know, it takes a competitive salary to have them be comfortable. So,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you. I'm going to go to Ross next and then you.
Yeah, just so you're aware, Doug, we have done that with the teachers, and they are not below the average. They're above the low, and they're in the middle, which is always where we said we wanted to be with our comparable districts. So we are in the middle with our teaching staff and the rest of our employees, but we are not with the superintendent, and we're really not with directors either.
Okay, Rob?
You don't tell me who the person is. Obviously, you're keeping that to yourself. Was it a parent? Was it an employee? Was it you mind saying? You said somebody within the district.
I'm not going to say.
Not even
Yeah, just
not even
somebody
their
in the district.
classification.
Yeah, no, just in the district.
I'm just trying to figure out what that means.
I'm not sure I know.
You don't even want to say employee or anything like that.
Just
Somebody who's concerned, a stakeholder.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. I guess now we can bring it to a vote or make a motion.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's take a motion first. Sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
So I'd make a motion that the board approve the contract revision for Superintendent Lewis as presented in our board packet.
Okay, motion was made,
Second.
second by trustee Chichester. Now it's time if the public has any questions. And if there's somebody on, is there somebody online? All right, let's take that person online first. Okay, Mr. Moore, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, this is Tom Moore for the record. And before I go forward with my public comment, I would just ask to indulge me for a second, is that Jim and Laura, it's such a pleasure to see you. And my lovely wife, Carolyn, passes on her acknowledgements also. And sorry that we're not able to meet face to face. And thank you so much for providing input to this very important matter here tonight. Thank you. It's good to see you. So my comment is just, I just encourage the board to support the language in the contract. I think it's extremely important for this community to have a representative, a person of the caliber that Mr. Lewis is that he has clearly shown in the past, since we hired him years ago, that he has the ability to lead this district in the proper direction that we need to go and to continue moving forward with. And so I just ask the board to support the language that is within the proposed contract. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. And then we put out another sign-up sheet if anyone would like to speak. Seeing not, then we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Madam
you.
President, I'd just like to make a comment.
Absolutely.
It's just a joy to be with all of you. And I want to say, again, I apologize for the emotion, but I also didn't make it clear. I'm not terminally ill. At least I hope not. And
We do too.
it's a complication of two different illnesses that I have that are recent and the medication that I'm on. So please forgive me.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. We are going to move into our closed session at this time.
Pursuant to RS 288.2204, that we move to closed session.
Second.
Okay, any public comment? None? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Okay, it's 7 o'clock and we're going to resume our meeting. Excuse me. Sorry. Our last item, well, not our last, but item number 17 is prioritizing an agenda of possible items for future board meetings for discussion and for possible action. Go ahead, Carrie.
I would like to refresh and keep the current item on there.
Okay.
Rob and Keith, Ross, no longer part of that. I'd like to keep that. Yeah, 2 new names and we can keep it in the agenda. So,
I gotta find it.
where to go?
I'll second it, just to move it along here. Yeah.
Put anything on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what it is, Doug. So it's high-level discussion regarding budget. That's what it is.
I just have a question.
Yes.
Can we ask for things on the agenda?
Sure.
Yeah.
We have next month. We can bring something forward. I did. Okay.
Good. Because I've heard all the talk about, we're out of touch with the families and stuff like that. So I'm gonna just propose that we look into having a parent advisory board to the board.
What people are concerned about is transparency in testing or something. Maybe we could just have a presentation of what the standard testing or what the procedures are for determining our rank in the state or the county or the nation or whatever.
That would be something different than what you're bringing up. right?
But I'm going to counter the criticism tonight was what we just went over in the last meeting. I did a full data analysis of our district in our last board meeting.
I was there.
And so this criticism that we're not being transparent, we're fully transparent. We brought it to the board level and talked about it. Now I understand that some people don't get that, but that, and part of this is we have just really held off on a lot on our website just because of the understanding that we were going to redo it. And I think that's right, wrong, or different. I think it's obviously it wasn't maybe the right thing to do. I think we haven't put some stuff up there with the anticipated we were going to change it. So it's definitely not, can we do better? I'm proud of our data in comparison. And so it's not something we're really hiding, but we can certainly do that.
Anyways, bringing it back to what Ross had brought up was, go ahead, Ross, say it again.
Well, what I was thinking is, I was just thinking that maybe they need, they're looking for, a parent advisory committee to kind of gauge.
Not different, not, right.
So this, if we can talk about this next month, because that's the last one, I would second that. And I think Ross is saying this is something that anybody could join.
Right.
Anybody could come to
Parents.
it, parents.
Right.
Anybody could give.
Anybody in the community, actually, if you
Yeah.
want to. And advisory, I mean, just, I'm just trying, if everybody's saying we're not transparent, I mean, I don't know how much more transparent we can be than to do.
Talk about that next, can we do it
Yeah,
next month?
sure. Or,
Then I'll-
or if we,
Yeah.
so,
hey, it's the last one. I'll spend the
Okay.
whole night here.
So Ross,
in my sleeping bag.
and you're gonna second that?
Sure.
Okay. Did you get that, Karen? Okay. And then anything else? And now, Doug, let's go back to what you were saying then, because that's separate than what Ross was saying. Oh, okay. All right. I'd like to bring something forward, and that is having a training for our board. A retreat, a training, board retreat, because we have a new.
Everybody face to face.
No, this would be
this
for
would
next
be
year.
after.
It would be after we get our new board members on. But I,
Come in and we lock the door.
but I think it's important that
No, we
Oh,
can do it. It would be posted. So it was like
we can do it.
I think when you and Tony first came on, we had a board workshop. If I don't, at Douglas High School, we had NASB come. I think that was right after you guys came on. So something similar. I think it's just, I recommend it for, especially as three
Kind
new
of a-
people coming on and just really making sure
Team building.
that we're on the same
Yeah.
page.
which is next year.
Which will be next year. And on your dime? Great. I think we should have it at your place.
Come on over.
This could be called a board workshop.
Yeah,
Yes.
it would be a board.
Or- And then
The surfboards.
I have another one too that I'd like to bring. I'm sorry. Oh, did someone second it?
Board workshop also.
Thank you. And then the last thing I'd like to bring up that I'd like to see happen is, and we heard this at the conference a lot from different districts, they have a student on their board, non-voting. And some of them have a different student that comes each month. So they have a rotating different ones on for each month. And so I'd like to possibly bring that up to see if anyone if I could put that on for a future agenda item, having a student on our board.
Voting member. Well, you could be a voting-
Non-voting, it can't be a vote, but it would just be
Just a seat at the table.
just a seat at the table to be able to give us the information, what's going on at the high school through their eyes. Thank you.
That next month too.
Yeah, next month too. And that's all I have. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up? For Christmas. The figgy pudding. All right. Well, if there's no other, we're going to move then to our public comment. Item number 18. Oh. And did you sign in, ma'am? Here you go. You can sign it.
You're the only one, so.
And please state your name for the record. We're not sure who you are.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment in this.
Could you
last
state your
public-
name,
Oh,
please?
I'm so sorry. Rami Cronin Mack. Thank you. I am just want to take a minute to respond to a public comment that was made earlier. And I don't know if I can even do this, but I think I can because I'm a public person now. And I just wanted to let the public know that erroneously earlier this evening, it was stated that CNN was solicited by Superintendent Lewis. And I do know that there was a public records request that did demonstrate that indeed that is not true, that CNN came to Douglas County School District because of an interest they had in studying some of the issues around critical race theory, and they did indeed contact Douglas County first. We did not solicit them when I was working for the district. And then the other two things I wanted to just make clear for the record, that any parent out there who has questions about how our district performs and would like to see some data, they can always look to the Nevada report card, which does publish how schools are doing compared to each other and districts are compared to each other. Just Google Nevada report card. And in there, you'll see that there is no pandemic data, which is a statewide decision. Nonetheless, there is data there. So that is transparency for them. And finally, Nevada, the whole state is responsible for teaching students the Nevada academic content standards. Those are the curriculum that every parent should have be able to go in and see, because they're available on the Nevada Department of Education website. That is the curriculum that Douglas County School District uses. It is easily searchable. All you have to put into Google is Nevada academic content standards, and you can see everything that your child is learning. The district is transparent, so is the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody online? Okay, meeting adjourned.